Hi.
Hello.
Welcome back to another episode of Wicked
Mysterious.
I'm your host, Katie.
And I'm Danny.
And we've got a Halloween mini for you.
Yay, our last Halloween one. So happy Halloween tomorrow,
Halloween.
everyone.
I know. Tomorrow, yep. Yeah. So this is not really a mystery, but it is a true crime that happened on Halloween. So it's perfect.
Yay.
We don't do those often.
No, we don't.
If at all.
For good reason.
For good reason, right. So a little disclaimer, I guess. I think we should. This does involve poisoning of children. So if that's not your thing, you might not want to. Or if that's something that's,
triggering for you.
Triggering or
sensitive.
Too upsetting. Yeah, this is not the episode for you. How are you?
I'm good. It's a full moon today when we're recording.
Today when we're recording, yes, it is. I hope it's a full moon for Halloween.
It won't be.
No?
No. Full moon only lasts one day.
Damn it. Are you sure about that? That's
yes.
BS. I've definitely seen consecutive days of full moons.
No. I mean, it might look full, but technically it's only full for I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe
I'm taking
more
your
than
word.
24 hours.
Okay. Normally I'd Google that right now, but I'm not gonna because
now I have to.
Okay.
How long does? Hold on. Let's just ask Google.
A full moon.
How long does a full moon last?
The blood moon rises once again.
Oh, you are right.
Multiple days.
Well, it can appear full. It can appear full up to 3 days.
Okay. Yeah, I was absolutely gonna say at least 3 days. I've seen a moon that looks full.
It actually says technically the point at which the moon is full lasts only an instant.
That's amazing. Okay. Good to know.
The more you know.
The more you know. So there you go, peep. That's for you.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm excited to do trick-or-treating, and that's what our episode's about today.
I have not told you what my son's costume is.
Oh, and should I wait? It's a surprise?
Yes,
okay,
yes.
cool.
Everybody else has seen it except you because I wanted you to see it in person.
Cool. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Did I tell you what mine are?
No.
Okay. I'll let it be a surprise too, even though
cool.
it's nothing special. All right. Well, Halloween trick-or-treating has always been a kid favorite going back as far as 1932. Before that, Old World...
Wild. Old World.
Wow, all kinds of fucking pop-ups too on my computer right now. What the hell? I said "wailed" and it was... Okay.
That's the magic word of the day.
Before that, old world traditions of souling and guising was revived by Irish and Scottish communities in the early 20th century, when pranks were the Halloween activity of choice for rowdy young people. Pranks that set entire cities on edge. The tradition has certainly evolved over time, and trick-or-treating is our current preferred Halloween night activity. I'm really happy about that.
We were born in the wrong time.
Yeah.
Because we both like
pranksters. We should have been in the 20s.
Yeah.
But we'd be dead right now if we were born in the
true.
20s, so everything happens for a reason.
I guess.
I mean,
now we're stuck in this terrible timeline.
Could always come back, and find each other again.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
could always bring the pranking back.
Oh, man, that'd be cool. I mean, I think it's nice the way it is. I mean, if you think about it, though, there's still those little, people that throw eggs and, they like to do the toilet paper stuff. Why'd your eyes just get so huge?
I want to egg someone.
A particular person or just anyone?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, a particular one. Okay. Do they have a good, a good landing spot on their head?
Oh, no. Their house is very easily accessible.
Oh, I thought we were talking about a physical person. I thought that's what we were talking about.
I am talking about a physical person, but I don't want to egg them.
Oh,
I'd like to egg their house.
Okay, I gotcha.
Imagine.
Okay.
2 37-year-olds arrested for...
How
You're
ridiculous.
not even 37 yet. You're turning 36, aren't you?
I'm turning 36. I have to think about it all the time.
I know,
You're
me
so
too.
much older than me.
I know.
I know. It's crazy. I have to
It
respect
sucks.
my elders.
I'm usually younger than everybody, so I'm always like, you'll always be older than me, and there's nothing you can do. And
love
now
it.
I'm the older one.
Yeah, I love that. Stay old. All right. So, back in the mid-1970s, an incident occurred that started parents' paranoia over checking children's Halloween treats after one parent had a fatal trick up its sleeve. A trick that would ruin Halloween night for all the children of Deer Park, Texas. Let's get into it. Ronald Clark O'Brien. First of all, have you ever heard this story?
No.
Okay. Ronald Clark O'Brien was born October 19th, 1944. Damn Libra.
That's his first problem.
That's his first
He's
problem.
a
That's for
Libra
damn
man.
sure. He was definitely overthinking everything in his life when he made these choices.
Crying about it, too.
Oh, my God. So, October 19th, 1944. He was married to a woman named Diane and had a son named Timothy, who was born in 1966, and a daughter named Elizabeth, who was born in 1969. Altogether, as a happy little family, they lived in Harris County in Deer Park, Texas. In 1970, the population of Deer Park was 12,773, so pretty small.
Yeah.
Ronald earned an honest living as an optician at the Texas State Optical in Sharpstown, Houston, and was also a deacon at the Second Baptist Church, where he sang in the choir and ran a local bus program. Ronald was also attending a community college. He was known in the community as a great family man.
How the hell do people have time to do that many things?
I know. I was thinking the same thing. Like,
I
damn,
can barely
Ronald.
work.
Yeah, he's like 30 at this time. Yeah.
Wow.
He's 30. But I mean, it's really you're never too old to go back to
No,
school, right?
no. But like having school and choir and
work.
Andy was a deacon.
Uh-huh,
Andy ran
and-
a bus program.
Yep.
Andy's an eye doctor.
Well, yeah. He was an optician. Is that how you say the word?
Optician, I think, is somebody that deals with like. I might be wrong.
I might have
but
to
glasses?
say that then. Yeah,
No,
glasses.
You said optician.
Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely, I think, glasses. I mean, I don't think he's a doctor. He wasn't a doctor,
okay.
no.
So he's a glasses man.
He was a glasses man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. That explains why he has a little more time.
On the evening of Halloween, October 31st, 1974, Ronald was planning to take his two children trick-or-treating along with their neighbor and his two kids. Timothy was 8 at this time, and Elizabeth was 5, and all the kids were good and friendly together and eager for a fun night out. So much fun, right? When you go with your neighbors and you make it up. Our boys are going to have fun.
Yes.
Ronald decided this year that they would travel to a neighboring town of Pasadena, Texas. Mm-hmm. I suspect that the neighborhood probably had the good candy, the good stuff, the big shit.
The king size.
Yeah. Or, probably was like a more wealthy neighborhood. Or maybe the houses were just like better spaced for the little legs walking around. And whatever the reason was that Ronald had, that was his plan. The night was going great, and it was very lightly raining, but the kids, of course, did not give a shit. They ran excitedly from house to house, begging for treats one after another, while Ronald and his friend were waiting for them to move on at the end of the driveways. As the kids approached a dark house, they still had their hopes up that somebody would answer, and they patiently waited a minute before they ran off. But Ronald stayed behind waiting. It's unclear if his friend stayed behind as well, but Ronald definitely did. And minutes later, he met back up with the group and announced that they had missed out, that house actually was worth the wait, that somebody had answered and given him 5 21-inch Pixie Stix, and the kids were super stoked. I know, but you remember those?
Yes.
Yes, me too. I remember them. So much sugar. He handed 2 Pixie Stix to his 2 kids and 2 to his neighbor's kids, and he held on to the 5th one. The kids continued trick-or-treating until their little legs and treat sacks couldn't take any more, and the night was a blast. Once they got home, they were tired and the kids were ready to feast on their candy. The doorbell rang and it caught Ronald off guard. His lights were off and he did not plan to pass out any candy. But once he saw who was at his door, a 10-year-old boy from his church, he recalled that he had that 5th Pixie stick and he proudly presented it to him. The children are begging for candy at this point, and Ronald's a party pooper. He tells them, kids, it's really late. You can have 1 piece of candy before bed, and tomorrow you can really dig in. Do you remember, I don't know if you did it, but I always, traded candy with my, brothers. We got home from trick-or-treating, and we would, trade. If I didn't like Reese's, and he did, which was the case, we would switch. Yeah, I'm not a Reese's fan. I don't like, the dried peanut butter stuff, the way it's, crumbly. I'm not a fan.
Who are you?
I like a lot of other delicious chocolate things. I prefer, Twix or, Take 5 over a Reese's all day.
Yeah, my son loves a Twix. That's his jam.
Has he had the salted caramel one yet?
Probably.
Oh,
he always asks for a Twix at the store.
So good. But yeah, so I would I remember Halloween night was so fun to go through all your candy and, eat a lot of it, of course. But yeah, these kids were pretty good. They, of course, were disappointed, but they had to agree with their dad. So Elizabeth, she picks her choice and Timothy picks his, and neither of their choices were the 21-inch Pixie stick. But oddly, Ronald insisted and encouraged that Timothy eat the Pixie stick. Timothy was easily persuaded. He ripped his late-night treat open and he gladly poured the powder into his mouth. Once little Timmy could taste what he had just ingested, he gagged, and he said that it tasted horrible. He claimed it was nasty, but yet he continued eating it. Kids, right? Ronald got him some Kool-Aid to wash it down. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Kool-Aid? Seems suspicious.
Yeah.
In just a few minutes after ingestion, and this is where the trigger warning comes in, Timothy felt very sharp pains in his stomach and he ran to the bathroom where he began vomiting. Ronald seemed very concerned, and Tim actually fell to the ground and he began convulsing on the bathroom floor.
Horrible.
Absolutely horrible. So Ronald picked him up and he went completely limp. And 911 was called, but sadly it was too late for little 8-year-old Timothy. He sadly passed away before he even made it to the hospital. Horrible. Let's take a second for poor Timothy. The small town of Deer Park had rumors running rampant instantly about him, about Timothy dying of poisoned Halloween candy, even before any autopsy or any kind of results were given. Parents were absolutely terrified, and they took away all of their children's candy to closely inspect or just trash it altogether, because no one could be sure which candy and how it was contaminated. So for many families, it was just too high of a risk.
Yeah.
So many kids lost all of their hard-earned goodies that Halloween. And the kids must have been totally pissed, Police quickly concluded that the person responsible for poisoning the candy was very sloppy. The Pixie stick container was taken in as evidence and investigated, and it was determined that it was just simply opened and stapled back shut. In fact, all 21-inch Pixie sticks given to Ronald were suspiciously stapled. I remember those Pixie sticks being stapled.
Yeah.
Same.
Yep.
Very vividly.
Yeah.
So I found that odd. I don't remember it being pressed shut.
No, they were stapled.
So maybe...
With the tag on the top, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's interesting that this is even pointed out that they were stapled, unless they were opened and the staple was just stapled back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess that's a good way to
just
do it.
Messily put back together.
Yeah. It must have been. Police took Ronald in for interrogation and demanded to know the story of the candy. Since the start, Ronald was firm on his story that a Pixie stick from a house in Pasadena had killed his son. Now, police wanted to know which house, and to their surprise, Ronald was just not sure. He could not be positive. Police took him to the neighborhood, and the house that certainly had to have stood out to him, since he had spent so much time waiting at this dark house for Halloween candy. But no, he still could not remember. So the police weren't letting up on Ronald, and he started to elaborate more on the story once he got back to the police station. He needed to give them more because clearly they were not satisfied with what he had given them. and they were not fully believing his story. So Ronald went on to tell them more. He said that the homeowner was late to answer, and he did not even get a look at this person's face. He claims that all the homeowner did was crack the door open and stick out an arm holding 5 Pixie sticks and gave it to him. He added that the arm was absolutely, without a doubt, a man's arm, and it was hairy. That's all he knew about the homeowner, which is so fishy.
Yeah. Okay.
Come on.
Right.
Investigators are aggravated by this, but they have to let him go because they just don't have any hard evidence or a confession. Days went by, and police show back up again and take him back in. The investigators tell him that if he cannot recall the house in question of the perp, then there was going to be repercussions for him. And wouldn't you know, Ronald O'Brien suddenly was confident that he could surely pick out that shady house and get that man convicted for killing his kid. So Ronald was brought back to the neighborhood, and he picked out the home right away. And the detectives were glad, and they knocked and waited only to find that the homeowner was not home. So they did some deeper investigating on the address and found that the owner worked at an airport. Investigators went to the airport and arrested the man in front of all of his coworkers and brought him in to get some answers. Finally, there might be some justice for the O'Briens. The only problem was that the owner of the home had a very solid alibi, along with many witnesses to further back it up. The homeowner had been working that night, and several co-workers corroborated his story. The only ones home that Halloween night was his wife and their daughter, and they did pass out candy until they ran out when they shut off their lights. They were not passing out Pixie sticks. And I'm sure you guessed it, his wife and daughter's arms were not hairy and masculine. The autopsy results were in, and it was determined that there was enough potassium cyanide in his system to kill 2 adults.
Oh my God.
In Timothy's system. The investigators are back on Ronald now, and he's sticking to his story. He's giving no other information, so some deeper digging began on Ronald, and this is where the story sadly starts to make sense. Mm-hmm. Ronald was found to have been over $100,000 in debt. He was suspected of theft at his place of employment, the Texas State Optical. He had bank loans under default, and his house was up for foreclosure. The family car was also due to be repossessed, like any day now. Deeper investigating about Ronald's character showed that he had 21 jobs in 10 years. So clearly dude couldn't hold a job. And he recently had taken out life insurance on his 2 children. A $10,000 policy on each child in January of that year, 1974. But by September, only 1 month before Timothy's Halloween nightmare, the insurance policies were up to $20,000 per kid. Even more suspicious and stupid, Ronald called his life insurer the following morning, 9 a.m. after his son was pronounced dead, to inquire about how he would receive his money.
Oh my God.
His brain obviously wasn't right. There's no words, right? Like,
right.
The stupidity.
Well, not just that, but like, obviously no amount of money is worth your child's life without saying.
Obviously. But the day after you would be mourning, and the last thing you're thinking about is money.
Well, I mean, just, I don't know. The thought of like, let alone your child and a child or your own child, like killing anybody makes me like, there's no way I could ever live with that. Like, imagine like the stress of like thinking you're going to get caught all the time.
That's why like, you couldn't live with that?
Well, no. Not just that, but like, yeah. I mean,
I couldn't kill just for my conscience. I feel like
nobody. The conscience, obviously, too, but
like, nobody has the right to kill anybody.
No.
I don't care if you, the only reason somebody should be killed is if we're protecting our children, is how I feel.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
other than that, nobody has the right, I feel like. And, like, let them suffer in jail. Like,
I don't even really believe in an eye for an eye. I don't think like, it's easier said because I haven't had somebody close to me be murdered or anything. And I've never felt that. So I understand that people probably have a different perspective.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily believe in that.
Yeah, I think that
jail.
I agree with you, but I think that eye for an eye, probably the crime rates were much lower back then because people feared that happening, to them. So, I mean, there was something smart about it.
But I just can't.
I know, but it's like, obviously when your kid passes, you do want to collect your insurance on them if you have to pay for funerals, right? Yeah. But like, that's not the next day at 9 a.m. That's the last thing you're thinking about. Right. Even if you're a Libra and you've been overthinking.
Right.
It's not the time or the place. You should be in bed crying your eyes out still, And
just the thought that anybody could do that.
Right? And that's what's kind of like, it's like almost mysterious too. Like I mentioned that in here, like that how any parent's brain can go
There's
there.
Something obviously so wrong.
Money. Over money. Just to get ahead. Like, unreal. Police get a warrant and search the O'Brien home. They find scissors with the same residue on them that the Pixie Stix containers had detected. But that was basically it. That's all they found in the home. Investigators spoke with some of Ronald's professors at the college he was attending, and one of the professors stated that Ronald had asked some very mysterious questions. Like, one of them was, quote, "What is more lethal, cyanide or another type of poison?" Another witness came forward to investigators at a store that sold chemicals. The worker in the store could not directly identify Ronald, but did mention that he remembered a man coming in asking to buy cyanide and purchased it, and that he remembered he was wearing a blue smock. Ironically, O'Brien wore a blue smock for his job as an optician. As a glasses man.
This is kind of like, what the fuck's her name?
Casey Anthony?
Yes. Thank you. Casey
bitch.
Anthony with the...
Just keep lying and lying and...
The chlorophyll and chloroform. When she Googled chloroform.
Googled it, right.
And her mother was like, "Oh, no, I meant to Google chlorophyll."
Oh, such a dumbass. That's a case that, like, oh my God. I'm glad we don't do true crime. Because, no. That's just too much.
Yeah.
Back at this time in 1974, there wasn't any DNA testing or any way to prove that Ronald was the one that bought the cyanide, but investigators had a good idea that he was, in fact, the one guilty of killing his son, suspected of trying to collect money in hopes to get him back more on track with his finances. How any parent's brain could behave that way in that thought process is beyond me. Mm-hmm. Wicked mysterious. Mm-hmm. On November 4th, 1974, Ronald was taken into custody, and on June 3rd, 1975, Ronald was tried in court and maintained his innocence. There was no solid proof against him, but it still only took the jury 46 minutes to come to the verdict of guilty of capital murder and 4 counts of attempted murder.
Yeah, so I have a question.
Yeah.
So why didn't he ask his daughter to eat it? And why did he give it to the other kids?
I know. I thought the same.
To cover his tracks?
To make it, I think, the same. Yeah, to cover. I mean, I don't know why he didn't push his daughter to do it. I hate to say it, but maybe he, like, felt more, comfortable with his older 8-year-old son than his 5-year-old daughter. Yeah. I mean, I hate to say that. Like, any parent would pick favorites over poisoning one or the other, but I mean, I could see that, like, a daddy's girl compared to, a boy.
Did the police confiscate? They must have. And were those poisoned too?
Yep, all of them. Yep.
Yeah.
So 4 counts of attempted murder, and only 71 minutes it took to sentence Ronald to death. Mm-hmm. So I think that's pretty, substantial because there really was no evidence. Like, we could never do that now.
Right.
We could never sentence someone to death if we didn't have evidence and proof, like solid proof.
Well, they did it all the time back then.
Yeah. It was just what the jury, thought, which it still should be. Sometimes it's like obvious that it was what it was, Right. But I'm not talking death. I just mean to be sentenced.
Yeah, to be convicted.
Yeah, convicted, yeah. Ronald was detained in the Huntsville unit in Huntsville, Texas for the duration of his sentencing until he was put to death. He was shunned by other inmates for killing a child. Mm-hmm. Shortly after midnight on March 31st, 1984, 10 years after his son's death, well, it was a little short of 10 years, Ronald was put to death by lethal injection. Ronald never admitted to killing his son and insisted he was innocent until the very end. His final words were, "The death penalty is wrong." Outside, over 300 people crowded around the prison and cheered with signs that read "Trick or Treat." Thankfully, and also absolutely horribly, Timothy was the only child who ingested the Pixie Stix. But yes, all of the Pixie Stix did contain the potassium cyanide, and he was quickly labeled the Candyman killer, or the man who killed Halloween.
Wow.
And that is the story. And obviously, we're talking about a child who died here, so no disrespect at all, in any way, shape, or form. I know we got to cover our ass and say that because we can't laugh or anything, but, we shouldn't laugh. It's a very, very fucked up thing that happened to Timothy. Sadly, he was, his dad's debt was more important than his life. So,
right.
Our heart goes out to him. And yeah, that's it. That's our Halloween mini for you. So please. Oh, you know what I wanted to say though? Also, still to this day, parents are worried about candy. You notice that?
I was just reading that November 3rd, 2022, so just a year ago, they actually found razor blades.
Yes, I remember that.
And candy in Oregon. Oregon. I say Oregon.
I say Oregon too because of Oregon Trail.
Yes, but apparently it's not.
Oregon.
It's Oregon.
It sounds like an Oregon. I don't like it. I think it's like a potato, tomato, semi.
Nobody says tomato though.
Data.
I say both, data and data.
I do too, I think. I definitely say semi. Oh, no, I think I say semi.
It depends what I'm talking about.
I know, it's so weird. Anyway.
Well, yeah, it did happen recently.
Yeah.
The razor blades.
And I mean, even when I was a kid, obviously that wasn't long after. And when I was born in 87. So in the 90s, in the early 90s, my mother was paranoid about candy. She had to inspect my whole bowl. She had to make sure nothing was open.
Yep.
And
my dad did
now,
too.
We don't let our kids. Remember the suspicious candy we got last year?
Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah, you were like, "Girl, I'm not letting my kid eat this." I was like, "I think my kids had already eaten it." No, I'm just kidding. Kidding.
What was it?
It was something like marshmallow, something weird. It was in a weird packaging. The packaging was wicked
really
suspicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it almost looked like homemade or something. I know the kids were excited about it though. They wanted it, so it was very
Do you
enticing.
Remember the religious flyers we got?
No.
I think that was just me actually. Just my son's bag had this
oh, that's right.
paper about Jesus.
I'm sorry. I don't think that a kid is gonna read that when he's, trying to mow down on his candy, but it's a nice attempt.
According to Snopes, this is straight from Google, there has never been a verified incident where poisoned Halloween candy was handed out at random in an attempt to harm children.
Right.
However, there have been a few times where people hid pins, needles, and other sharp objects in treats, usually as a prank.
Wow. I know. You know what I love when... because this story, again, there was no proof. And obviously this was a father intentionally trying to kill his children. So this wasn't a stranger trying to hand out candy to kids to just, to hurt them. But poisoned candy. But yeah, so there was obviously it's not documented as strangers poisoning candy in this case. But I think it scared everybody to the point of we still worry.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if there was any incident before this that occurred that people were paranoid about candy.
Well, I think it goes further than just candy. You never accept a drink at a bar from somebody you don't know. You never leave your drink alone at a bar.
Yep, because that's humans for you.
There's all sorts of... It's an opportunity, and that's, I think, why people are afraid.
Mm-hmm. Not an easy opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So sad. I feel sorry for that kid. How horrible.
8 years old, and obviously that resonates with us.
Yes, absolutely.
Very much so. But I know, very, very sad story, and just wild that any parent could ever intentionally hurt their child. Right. Any parent, I'm talking
or anybody to hurt a child. That makes me sick.
True. Anybody hurt a child. Yeah, that's true. There's a special place in hell for Ronald, so I'm sure he's there.
Yeah.
Dancing with the devil.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween tomorrow. We hope you're safe. And don't forget to check your kids' candy.
Yes.
Stay mysterious.